Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be discussing Total Eclipse of the Eternal Heart by Syundei. Now before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiling this manga, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. Now for those of you left behind, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to murder, death, bullying, homomesia, violence, blood, statutory rape and or pedophilia, grooming, and suicidal ideation, as these things do appear in the manga. Now, if that's okay with you, let's go and get started. As always, let's start with the synopsis. Terumichi is in love with his mysterious classmate Yamadaa, who just appeared in his life one day. Yamadaa is strange and imposing but dangerously beautiful, and one of the few people who've been kind to Terumichi. His unique disposition makes him all the more alluring to Terumichi, and in the end he can't help being drawn to Yamadaa. After an abrupt confession, Yamadaa and Terumichi seem on the cusp of romance when a stranger with a knife appears. Terumichi does everything he can to protect Yamadaa, but in the end, Yamadaa is stabbed to death. Terumichi is in a panic, calling an ambulance even though it's clear by the amount of blood that Yamadaa isn't going to survive. Yet, somehow, Yamadaa gets right up and walks away as if nothing ever happened, whispering a cryptic sentence. Only two left. Terumichi would be better off cutting his losses and moving on, but he just can't forget Yamadaa. Now, to start out with, the art is very old school. The style gives me Ranma 1/2 vibes, though the art is where the similarities between those two end. It makes everyone appear much younger than they actually are, which I would usually say is a bad thing in a story with sex and rape involved, but it makes everything that happens all the more heinous and, in turn, really emphasizes just how terrible Kurowa was in the past, and really still is. Seeing these innocent young boys being taken advantage of by someone they looked up to and groomed is stomach-turning, which is ideal for a horror manga. This classic style helps build up the creepiness of the story, something I didn't anticipate until I started reading it. The tone is dark and eerie from beginning to end. However, as much as I appreciate how the art style works in favor of the horror genre, I have to gripe a bit about how the BL genre is used. I totally understand that this is BL because it's a relationship between two boys, but I'm once again faced with the incongruence of the, quote, love aspect of that genre. This is not love in any sense of the word, and in turn, it isn't romance, which I would consider BL to be a subgenre of. Terumichi, or Sho, talk about love, but they act on feelings groomed and manipulated by their love interest. Of course, Kurowa has reincarnated and is perpetually stuck as a teen named Yamadaa, but he's still the adult Kurowa, and is just as manipulative and groomy to Terumichi as he was to his former incarnation, Sho. I just wish we had a different term for BL without the love part, as it feels disingenuous for some titles, like this one. However, I do love the parallels between Kurowa's life in the past, being in power, steadily killing off each boy that loved him until he killed Sho, and the steady buildup of Kurowa being killed by his victims until he ends up with Sho as Terumichi in the end. It's amazing to see the switch of power dynamics between Kurowa and Sho. The story suggests that Sho is meant to kill Kurowa, just like all the other victims, but in the end it turns out that they are on equal footing, as Sho truly loved Kurowa enough that he was happy to be reincarnated with him and able to die with him, just as he was fine to go to jail with him in the past after being an accomplice. There's also an interesting parallel with the sex they have. In the past, Kurowa was on top, while in the present day, Sho puts himself on top. Being the recipient or otherwise wouldn't typically come with power dynamics, but it's often the case in manga and other forms of BL. It shows that in the end, Sho always had the power, as he loved Kurowa enough to die with him, the eternal love Kurowa was always pining after and memorializing in his writing. While I do love the parallels, I'm not as big of a fan of the ending as I thought I would be. It feels a bit anticlimactic for all the sadness that was built up. I hate that while all of the victims end up forgetting their past lives and moving on after killing Kurowa in the present, Sho and Kurowa just disappear altogether like they never existed. I understand why, since Sho was an accomplice and thus guilty in his own way, but I felt it wasn't enough. I would have liked to have seen them reincarnate again, with Sho once again pining after and pursuing Kurowa, while Kurowa tried his best to regain the power he lost in their dynamic. In my opinion, it would have been more justified, but here we are. It's not bad, it's just not my favorite ending. With all that being said, this was very, very interesting. I love it when we see horror pop up in the BL genre, as I think it's very underutilized, though I am seeing more come up. If you're looking for romance or smut, this isn't it. The sex is not meant to be sexy. The romance is not romantic. It's all a form of power, control, and manipulation, heinous and tragic tools. I love the darkness and how intricately the present and the past reflect each other. I wouldn't quite call it a favorite, but it's a good one. I definitely think this is worth giving a try. So, have you read Total Eclipse of the Eternal Heart? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know and comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!